Hello everyone, in this video I'm gonna talk about how to use Sequentior with some real-world examples. Sequentior is a Unity asset to create sequence of actions in a visual scripting style. Please note that it's not a visual scripting tool, it just uses the same logic as visual scripting, but it's solely built for creating sequences easily in a visual way. This way you can create animations very easily, or you can perform some repetitive tasks without writing any code. So let's see how to start using Sequentior. Here I have created a Universal Rendering Pipeline project, URP project. First I want to show you how to animate game objects by using Sequentior. So let's add a cube to our scene, 3D object cube. Now let's animate the cube. And now we can add a Sequentior Manager component to the cube itself, or create an empty game object and add the Sequentior Manager component to this game object. You can choose whichever you want, but for this demo I will choose to use an empty game object to manage the Sequentior, because I will use the same Sequentior on multiple game objects later in this video. So let's rename this to cube animation. Now add component and sequential manager. Sequential Manager is the main component that is used to create sequences and to manage them. It has a few options, as you see, and most of them are self-explanatory. So for simplicity I will dive into adding sequences right away. Scroll down and click the Open Editor button. A new window opened. This is the Sequentior Graph Editor. We'll create our sequences of actions in this graph. To create a new sequence item, which is called sequential, just right click on an empty area and select Create Node. Or alternatively, you can click the Add Sequential button here. In this list you can search for a specific sequential, or you can explore the list by categories, as you see. Now for this example we just want to move the cube to another position, so we can search for move and select the move transform sequential. It's added to the graph. And as you see, there are lots of options of the sequential, and all the options are explained in the documentation in detail. And in this video I will explain the options whenever we need to use them. But first let's connect the start sequentials next output port to the move transform sequentials in input port. Otherwise it won't play the move sequential, because we need to create a flow of sequentials by connecting them to each other. This is the power of sequential, because this way you can modify the behavior of your actions easily just by changing the flow. The most important thing in most of the sequentials is the target object. As you can see, there are some options for defining the target object. Target object is the game object that the sequential's action is performed on. For example, in this sequential, because we want to move our cube game object, we need to tell the move transform sequential that our target object is the cube. There are lots of options to set a target object, but for now we'll just assign it directly by dragging the cube and dropping it to the target object field here. Okay, now we are ready to move our cube. As you see, there are a few options for the animation group. For now, just leave them as it is and come back later to see the effects of these options. And because this is a move sequential, there are also move options in addition to the animation options that will define the movement parameters. For simplicity, just set the move value to 0, 0 and let's say 20. And that's it for now. We can close the graph editor and we can play this scene. Okay, as we expected, our cube moved to the 0, 0 and 20 position in 1 second. And this is a very simple animation. Now return back to our graph editor and play with some animation options. First, let's change the duration to 0.5 seconds and ease type to, let's say, in out sign, and let's set the repeat to -1. This means it will repeat the animation forever. And set the repeat type to ping pong, which plays the animation forwards, then backwards, then forwards, and so on. Now let's close the graph and play the scene again. Great, we have just modified a few parameters and it looks better now, but we haven't seen the power of Sequentior yet. As I said before, Sequentior lets you make a flow of sequentials, not just create a single animation. So now let's also rotate our cube. We have opened the graph editor again. Just right click and create node and type rotate. Select rotate. Now connect the move transform sequentials next output port to the input port of the rotate sequential, because we want to play the rotate animation after the move animation. Again, for this one, set the target object to cube by dragging it and set the duration to something about 0.4. and now let's set the rotation to 180 on the y-axis. Although we are not done yet, we just close the graph editor and play the scene to see how it works. As you notice, play again. As you notice, although we have put the rotation sequential after the move sequential, it starts to rotate the cube at the same time with move animation. This is an important concept of Sequentior. The Sequential Manager component plays all the sequentials one by one in the order of the flow without waiting the finish of the previous sequential. I mean, it starts playing the move animation, but in the same frame it also starts playing the rotation animation. Because we have not defined any delay for the rotation animation, or we have not tell the Sequential Manager to wait the move animation to finish before starting the rotate animation. So now let's make the rotation animation start with a delay. First, change the repeat option of the move sequential to 1 instead of -1, and this means it plays the animation once and repeats it one more time, and that's it. And now set the delay of the rotate animation to 1. This means the rotate animation will wait for 1 second before start playing. And just for a better rotation animation visual, set the ease type to something like Outback. Outback is good. Okay, close the graph and play the scene again. Okay, it moves the cube for 1 second, and after 1 second delay it rotates the cube. Play again, 1 second, and rotates it. And that's a way of creating delayed sequences. But assign a static value to the delay parameter of rotation, which is 1 second, which is exactly the same time the move animation lasts. But what if we change the duration or repeat count of the move animation and it lasts for 2 seconds? Then we need to set the delay of rotation to 2 seconds also, and this is not a good design. But there is a more dynamic and better solution for this, and these are pause and wait sequentials. So let's right click and create a wait sequential. Wait sequential holds the sequentials after itself until the sequentials before itself complete. So we need to connect the waits input to the move transform, and after that wait sequential we need to play the rotate sequential. So this is the flow: first move to transform, then wait for this sequential completes, and then start the rotation. So we don't need the delay anymore. Set it to 0 and let's play the scene. Okay, that's great. It moves the cube. When the move animation completes, it starts rotating it. To test its dynamic nature, open the graph editor again and let's set the repeat count to 3, for example, instead of 1, and play the scene again. 1, 2, 3, and then rotates it. Now, just for fun, add 2 more cubes to our scene. We have 3 cubes now. When we play the scene now, only one of the cubes animates because it's the target object of our sequentials, right? What I want to show you how we can animate multiple game objects with the same sequential manager. So let's open our graph editor and now just focus to the move transform sequential, and let's change its target object get type to multiple objects instead of single object. When we select it, as you can see, there shows get target objects by parameter with a few options. All these options are explained in detail in the documentation, but for this demo I will stick with the direct assignment option. Now you can assign as many target objects as you want in this target objects list. So just drag and drop all the cubes to this list, and let's do the same thing for the rotation. Just drag all the cubes and close the graph and press play. Good. At least all the cubes are animating, right? But they all move to the same world position. What I actually want to do is moving each cube to 8 units further away the camera, right? But what I am doing is moving them to exactly 0, 0 and 20 position in the world. So just change the move type to initial plus value and set the Z to 8 instead of 20. This way it will move each cube 8 units in their Z axis by adding 8 to their initial Z value, Z position value. Now play this in again. Great, it works as expected. We have defined a single flow and just a single flow and use it for multiple transforms, right? But this is kind of boring, so let's add some randomness to the animations. So let's start with the duration. As you can see, there are some down arrows next to the value area. Let's click this one and instead of direct assignment, select the random option. Now you can define a range for the duration. Let's set it 0.3 and 0.7 for the maximum value. This means this sequential will choose a duration in between this range every time it plays the sequential. Let's change the move value assign option to the random 2. Now set the Z values to 5 and let's say 12. And also we can change the duration of the rotation sequential here to random and set it to some values, and that's enough for now. Now play the scene again, and as you can see, now there is a randomness for each cube. Each cube choose their duration and move values randomly. As you see, it's very easy to create and manage animation flows with Sequentior. But Sequentior is not limited to only animations. It can do anything you can imagine. Some with built-in sequentials and some with custom sequentials you can create. I mean, let's say we want to play an audio just after the rotation. So right click, create node, and from audio select the play audio simple. Sequential has some options. as you see. But for this demo, I just want to play a single audio clip, and that's it. And connect the rotation sequential to this, and choose a clip power up. That's it. Let's play the scene. And it plays the audio clip when the rotation plays. If we want to play it when the rotation ends, we can use a new wait sequential between these two sequentials, or we can just set a meaningful delay parameter. Okay, this was an introduction to how to start using Sequentior in your game projects. Actually, there are lots of built-in sequentials that makes your development easier. You can always refer to the documentation or sample scenes available in the Sequentior Unity package, and also you can follow this YouTube channel for detailed tutorials. And you can find the download link of Sequentior in the video description. Thanks for watching.